Um, to answer your question about crime and punishment, the criminal justice system is basically predicated, and the American criminal justice system, but I think most criminal justice systems are predicated on the idea that uh, when you pronounce somebody guilty, that and you convict them of a crime, and then you punish them, the idea is they are responsible. They freely committed the crime and are therefore responsible for it. And that's just a basic. They had options. They had the option of committing the crime or not committing the crime. They freely chose to commit it, and now we're holding them responsible. And so everything's kind of fair. Um, you could give a compatibilist view of that. You could give a metaphysical libertarian view of that. You can't give a skeptical. The skeptics will say that free will and responsibility those are illusory, and therefore this is an unfair system. And they're unfair. These what we're doing with convicted criminals is unfair because they are not genuinely free or responsible. Nobody is. Um, but these are the kind of the metaphysical assumptions on which the whole criminal justice system is based. And then you have to, and then the challenge for the skeptics, and they have responded to it, is what do you do with people who are found guilty? Um, I mean, especially the more violent ones, the ones who have stolen a lot, um, and people you can't trust to be among us in society. What do you do with them? And there, again, I think I mentioned this before. One of the big answers now is quarantining them. And the idea is treat them as if they have a disease, not as if they're responsible. This didn't work out really with COVID, but there was a kind of a self-quarantining that went on. There were some mandates, schools said if you contract COVID, you can't come back to school for another 10 days after you recover. There were sort of these mandates, but in any event, the idea is to treat criminals like that, and not as free and responsible people because nobody is. And then once they're no longer contagious or dangerous, let them out. It's very much like how we treat people who are acquitted on the basis of insanity. We lock them up generally still. We commit them until they're no longer a danger to themselves or others. And the idea is to extend that to all criminals. It's an interesting proposal. It's consistent with their skepticism. But you might wonder, well, what's the difference between what we're doing now and what we're doing there? Not a lot, but there's different language we're using. We're not using the language of blame and punishment and free will, just as we don't with people who are contagious, with
Right.
a deadly disease. And so they think generally they think it will be more humane. The prisons or the institutions will be more humane because we're not blaming and punishing. One can wonder about that. There have been counter arguments that no, we'll actually be crueler. Look at what we did as recently as the 1950s and 60s in mental institutions.
Hmm.
They treated them as guinea pigs for experiments. Now, so the arguments go every which way, but those are the basic positions.